Welcome to Southern Ghost Stories. Here's your host, Alan Searcy.
Hey everybody, I'm Alan Searcy, the American Haunt Historian. We are rocking and rolling in the historic Richland Building in Portland, Tennessee. My pal Lonesome Lee Bogan over here on the board. We have a good time, got a good show for you. So lots of things are in the works. The Ghost of Gallatin Haunted Tour, dates are on the website, kicks off next weekend. GhostofGallatin.com if you want to take you a ghost tour in Gallatin. Also, some big news. I might just save this for the end of the show, just kind of tease it a little bit, but there is an announcement. But it's something I want to talk to you guys about. My pal Lonesome Lee Bogan's got a brand new song. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. He's taking over the world. Lee, tell the listeners about what you got going on, because you told me about this song, and I didn't know what to think. And I listened to it, and I was really pleasantly surprised about how good it was.
Well, thank you for bringing it up, Alan. The song is called I'm Gonna Marry a Hooker, and it's about a girl named Abigail Hooker. So it's not what you think, but all the little digs that make you think it is are in there. But it's
where can they find it? They want to find it online.
It's on YouTube right now. On September 12th, it'll be released to all streaming outlets, all video outlets, especially Vivo, which is the big one. So looking forward to that.
Okay. Well, today I figured we'd do some Chicago ghost stories. I've got a brand new book called The Sausage King that just dropped the other day, and it's based off the world-famous Adolf Lugert sausage vat murder trial that took place in 1897. We'll probably won't get to that today. Maybe next week we'll dig into that, but I wanted to have like a Chicago-themed episode, because there's just so much stuff in Chicago. I've got a book, Ghost Stories, Graveyard Tales Chicago. I went up there, worked on that off and on for a couple of years, and so much history in the Midwest. And Chicago, it's the third largest city in the country, so all kinds of history and just weird, wild things to draw from. But perhaps the most famous or infamous ghost story in Chicago is Resurrection Mary. Are you familiar with Resurrection Mary, Lee?
I am not.
So if you're from Chicago, it's kind of like a thing. Resurrection Mary, it's this urban legend / ghost story / whatever. It's a story that's become a tale. It's become a legend, and no one knows really what's what. Supposedly, back in the 1930s, there was a lady named Mary. Some say it was a lady named Mary Biogi. There's different last names, different girls they've made into the story. Some version, she died in a car wreck. She was leaving a dance in the 30s. She just went with her friends, and she walked out on the curb, and a car struck her, and it hit and killed her.
Good. Great.
So, yeah. So another one was she's with a guy, and a guy strangled her in the car. There's all kinds of different variations. Over the time, no one knows really what's what. But they say that she appears on Archer Avenue close to this cemetery. They say that if you're driving down the road, you'll look over by the cemetery and you'll see a lady with blonde hair, and she's hitchhiking, and you pull over and she gets in the car, and as you pull away, you turn to talk to her and she fades away.
Ooh.
So yeah, I mean, it seems like that's like common story. I found a story about that in South Nashville years ago, where someone picked up a hitchhiker, or someone stopped in a wagon to pick up a lady in South Nashville, and then they turned around to make small talk, and then she was just gone. It's kind of like just a urban legend, but it's famous for Chicago. But I do events all over the country. I was at an event in Nashville. When was it? Back earlier this summer. And this lady, she saw my Chicago book. She's like, "Hey, you got a book on Chicago? Is Resurrection Mary in there?" I said no. And the reason I didn't do it in the books, because it's like the Jersey Devil or the Bell Witch. It's a story. It's become a tale. It's now a legend. And it's who knows what's what. But anyway, she said that, everybody in Chicago talks about it. And she used to work at a bar across the street from the cemetery. So every night when she'd come in, they'd pour a shot for Mary, and they would leave it on the bar there. And she said she worked there for several years, and maybe once a month, once every 2 or 3 months, someone would come in and say, "Hey, I saw a lady on the side of the road." So it was like a real thing, according to Chicago lore. So, yeah.
Well, spooky, though.
Yeah, I mean, what would you do if you picked up a hitchhiker and you turned around and she was gone?
Ooh.
Wouldn't that kind of freak you out?
Yeah, well, not kind of. It would really freak me out.
But there's all kinds of just weird, wild stuff in Chicago. Most notably is the H.H. Holmes. You heard that story where the guy built this house for when the Columbian World's Exposition came in 1893, which is basically the equivalent to the World's Fair. He built this house where he could just, take people and murder them.
No.
I wrote a book about it called The Devil in the White City.
Don't know nothing about that.
Yeah. It's like the most notorious serial killer in Chicago history. Yeah, it's a pretty gnarly story.
I try to stay away from things that have devil in them. I'm just so I just try to stay away from
Yeah. Yeah, he was a serial killer. He wasn't really, I'm not sure he was possessed, but anyway. So the big story I want to talk about today, and it's something I wrote about in Ghost Stories, Graveyard Tales, Chicago. It's a really weird, wild story. And if you know me and you've read some of my books, like galvanism is I think it's one of the weirdest, wildest things. Experimenting on bodies with electricity and trying to revive them Frankenstein style.
I heard you mention galvanism in your promo, and I've never known what that is.
Yeah, we talked about, I think it was last week before last, my book, Knox Martin, came out. The Resurrection of Knox Martin. There was a guy in South Nashville, and he was hanged for double murder. But before the execution, these doctors went to see him. They made him a deal. Hey, we'll give you some silver. You can eat like a king while you're in jail, but, after the execution, we get your body, and we can perform experiments on it. Might even bring you back.
Oh,
of course,
okay.
at that point, what do you got to lose? They're going to hang you. So
Right?
So Knox, he took the deal, took the silver, and afterwards they tried to revive him with electricity. Some say it was successful, some say it wasn't. Either way, the Tennessean was reporting letters being written in by people in West Nashville, South Nashville, all over the state, I guess going towards Alabama, people who claimed to see Knox Martin walking home to Alabama. So I'm pretty sure that he was not revived, but it's really weird that the Tennessean was reporting on it, and for I guess a whole month, like from New Orleans to New York, all these newspapers are covering this Frankenstein story out of Nashville because it's so grandiose and so over the top. But it also went on in Chicago. So working on the Chicago book, I found this really wild story. There was a guy, his name was James Tracy. And in 1880, I guess like 10, 15 years after the Civil War, he had fought for the 10th Missouri Cavalry. Well, afterwards, he was kind of a petty criminal in Missouri, St. Louis area, but he went to Chicago just to make a fresh start. So he tried to go to law school. He flunked out. He's barely getting by. He's working at the docks. Well, he kind of goes back to his old lifestyle, and he becomes a petty criminal again in Chicago, right there along the river, and there's lots of opportunity for some shenanigans to make some money. So James Tracy, he was a handsome, very refined guy. So, he'd get popped for theft or whatever, and the police would arrest him. He never would resist. He's always polite. He was respectful to him. He was always dressed really nice. The newspaper accounts say he was just dapper. He had red hair and well-groomed, and by all accounts, he was a handsome, good-looking guy. So he took on this persona in Chicago as the Gentleman Burglar. That's what the police called him. He was the Gentleman Burglar. A lot of ruffians, a lot of gang members, they're trying to fight the cops. They're trying to just, do everything they can to get away and cause problems. But once Tracy got arrested, yes, sir, okay, we'll go to jail. And he didn't put up a fight. He was respectful. But, yeah, the Gentleman Burglar, he was a thing, James Tracy. So he was always in and out of jail. He was a petty criminal, usually robbing places. So the Chicago police, they had a relationship with him. They knew who he was. On February the 3rd, 1882, James Tracy and his buddy and fellow criminal Michael Rock, they broke into Tom Schwab's grocery store on Ashland Avenue. So it's a dark of night, and I guess one of the neighbors spotted some guys walking through this shut down grocery store with candles. So they're watching from the windows. They see these guys walking through the building with candles. Well, she alerted her brother-in-law. Well, the brother-in-law, he comes up on the roof and he's watching. So what happened was they're watching him. They're seeing these thieves in the grocery store right down the street or across the street. The neighbors are watching. Well, James Tracy and Michael Rock, one of them looks out the window and notices the neighbors are on the roof watching them walk to the grocery store. So what happens is either Tracy or Rock started shooting at the roof. Well, as you would suspect, the neighbors, they went into hiding. They ducked down. I guess they went back home, whatever. But 3 officers on patrol, they heard the gunshots, and they ran to the scene. So Tracy and Rock, they spotted the police officers. They fled the grocery store they were in. They ran up and down the dark alleyways like you would see in a movie, trying to evade the law. Well, as they ran up Holt Street, Officer John Hubner, he caught up with Tracy and Rock. Well, Tracy was a little bit quicker than Rock, and, Gentleman Burglar, he took off running. But Rock, he's a little slower. Hubner grabbed him and wrestled him to the ground. So they're scuffling, they're scraping. Rock's trying to get away. Officer Hubner has him down. He's calling for help, trying to get the other officers over there. I guess the other officers are a little heavy set. They couldn't run as fast. So as Rock and Hubner are scuffling, Tracy runs back, the Gentleman Burglar. He draws his gun and he shouts, "Let him go, or I'll kill you." So Officer Hubner, he refused to let go. I guess he thought reinforcements were coming. He wasn't going to let his prisoner go. So Tracy, he fired 3 bullets at point-blank range and killed Officer Hubner there in the street on Holt Street there in Chicago.
Not good.
No. Yeah, it's about to get even worse. So James Tracy and Rock, they got away, slipped off into the night. The other officers couldn't catch up to him. Well, the murder, it was front page news all over Chicago. When you kill a police officer like that, it's going to make news, and the chief of police, he was all over it. So the chief of police, he's working his connections. He's going into the jail. He's trying to find people who are part of the criminal underbelly of Chicago, and he sets up this group of people to go out into the bars, out to the saloons, start asking around. Well, he gets these informants in jail who have connections. The whispers get back, oh, it's James Tracy and Michael Rock. So what the chief of police does is he sets up a sting in one of the saloons. So that night, Tracy and Rock, they go to meet with this other informant, this other criminal they know, and I guess he's telling them about, potential score, potential heist, something they can work on together. And as they're talking, boom, the police descend upon on the building, and they get Tracy and Rock, and they haul them off to jail. So when they get off to jail, the first neighbor, the lady who initially saw them in the building, she's brought in for questioning, or to identify the perps. So naturally, the good-looking guy with the red hair, that caught her eye, and that's what she's like, oh, there he is, and that's the other gentleman there with him. So they both got arrested, and they were identified, and they were thrown in jail to await, their hearing. So as they're in jail, Tracy and Rock come up with a plan. They're going to escape, and they almost do. They cause some shenanigans. I think there was a fire inside the jail, but there's too many police officers, too many guards. They got them, and they put them back away in jail. Well, what happens is, because of that, the Chicago PD realizes Tracy and Rock, you can't have them together. They're 2 peas in a pod. They're too much trouble. You got to split them up. So they put Michael Rock in one jail, and they put Tracy in another jail to hold them separately, get them ready for their trial. So together they couldn't cause any problems. So when they finally went to trial, they couldn't get Rock for murder.
Okay.
So do we need to kind of take a break here before I get into the trial, you think?
No, I think we should.
Before we get into it, let's take us a break.
All right, you got it. We'll be right back.
Here's an important message from Portland Natural Gas. Always looking out for your safety. Think you have a gas leak? First, evacuate the area. Don't use matches, electrical switches, flashlights, or telephones. And report it immediately by calling Portland Natural Gas at 325-6776. If you think the leak is serious and a real danger is present, call 911. Portland Natural Gas, looking out for your safety and providing cost-efficient heating and cooling for Portland residents.
Winning just got closer. Cash is king at the Mint Gaming Hall this month. You need cash, and we have it. Play with your Mint Rewards card to earn entries every day. Then join us for your chance to win up to $5,000 cash on Fridays and Saturdays. You know cash is king, and we aren't messing around at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs, and Bowling Green. TheMintGaming.com has all the details. Cash is king, baby. Problem gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Winning just got closer.
Sumner Regional Medical Center believes that every person has the right to dignity, respect, and compassion as we journey through the cycle of life. That's why they have created High Point Hospice, to assure that our loved ones will receive the necessary support to allow us to do so. At High Point Hospice, our team of doctors, nurses, hospice aides, social workers, chaplains, and volunteers will walk by your side, offering support, providing symptom management, and answering questions to bring comfort and peace to you and your loved ones. For more information about High Point Hospice, call 328-6690 or visit them online at highpointhospice.com. That's 328-6690 or visit them online at highpointhospice.com.
FM and AM, WQKR.
Hi, I'm Bud Woodall from the Portland Church of Christ with a point to ponder. Joe had always worked with wood. Through his life, he had gone through a variety of inexpensive saws that worked all right, at least for a while. Finally, Joe went out and bought a top-of-the-line table saw. It was so beautiful and so costly that he refused to cut anything with it. It just sat there gathering dust. That makes for a useless table saw. In John 5:39 and 40, Jesus said to a group of people, "You search the Scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and these are they which testify of me. But you are not willing to come to me that you may have life." The Bible is the beautiful, united, and inspired by God book that brings us to Jesus. Don't let it sit and gather dust. Open your Bible and see the Son of God in its pages. Let God's Word draw you to Jesus. Points to Ponder is brought to you by the Portland Church of Christ. We hope you have a wonderful day.
Welcome back to Southern Ghost Stories. Here's your host, Alan Searcy.
All right, so we're talking about the Gentleman Burglar in Chicago, James Tracy. So before the break, we're talking about Michael Rock, James Tracy. They're both arrested. They try to break out of jail. The police decide, hey, we got to split these guys up, too much trouble. So what happens is James Tracy and Michael Rock go on trial for the murder of Officer Huebner, and there's not enough evidence to get Rock. So Rock was cleared of murder, but went back on trial, I think, for theft. Well, during the trial, when it was James Tracy's turn, they found out that James Tracy was not the Gentleman Burglar's real name. And even crazier, or I guess more respectable, he refused to give the officers in the court his real name. He said that he refused to tell his family's name because he didn't want to bring any dishonor onto them. Of course, he's on trial for killing a police officer. That's
How
a lot
thoughtful.
Yeah, but no, it's something that was stuck out in the papers when I was reading and researching all this, that they never really knew his name. So when they moved Tracy, well, it was really his undoing. When they moved him for the trial to separate him from Rock, he started talking to some inmates in the jail there, and he admitted that he killed Officer Huebner. I mean, just came out and told him, like, yeah, I fired the gun. So naturally, the police department got those guys on the stand, and that was pretty much James Tracy, the Gentleman Burglar's undoing. So it was such a slam dunk case, the jury only took 30 minutes to deliberate before they came back with a guilty verdict. It was so quick, the judge had left for the day, and they had to send someone to go get him. So they sent people out to go get the judge. He came back a little bit later, and he was sentenced to death. He was going to be executed. So James Tracy's legal team, they filed an appeal, to see if they could get a new trial, but they lost. He was sentenced to death. There's no way around it. So in prison, Tracy, he maintained his innocence. I mean, the whole time he was on trial, he insisted he didn't do it. It was somebody else. He was wrong. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. It wasn't him. But while he was there, he passed a lot of time with another inmate. In the Chicago prison there in Cook County, Sadie McBride was an attractive young lady doing time for larceny. Well, I told you, this refined, handsome, dashing, red-headed gentleman burglar, he's a ladies' man. So what he'd do when he walked around the yard there in the Cook County Prison, he would pick flowers and find little trinkets. He'd find thimbles or just, pretty shiny rocks or whatever. And he'd take them to Sadie and give them to her in her cell. So they had like this sweet little courtship with the Gentleman Burglar. Well, Sadie wasn't the only person that James Tracy was spending time with in the prison there. Dr. Walter Haynes, Dr. D.R. Brown, Dr. I.N. Danford also came to visit James Tracy. So I mentioned galvanism earlier. So in the early 1800s, Mary Shelley published Frankenstein, and all these doctors in Europe and America thought, I can revive a body too. So these guys were just convinced they could, perform experiments with his cadaver after the execution, and they went and they talked to James Tracy, and they got permission to perform these experiments on his cadaver. I mean, if they brought him back, what has he got to lose? They talked to him about the developments in science and galvanism, and, he's like, sure, let's go for it. He gave him permission, and state officials also signed off on it. They agreed to allow them to perform experiments on his body after the execution. Well, the morning of the Gentleman Burglar's execution, he met with a priest, and he had breakfast. What would you eat for your last meal, like your last breakfast there? What would you want?
I'm a Southern guy, so
Okay.
it'd be grits, eggs with cheese, and some toast.
See, I would do something like I want like some fajitas or maybe some mellow mushroom pizza. Or
For breakfast.
hey, if you're about to go out, man, why not go out in style?
Well, I can eat breakfast anytime,
Yeah.
so,
Well, he's kind of picking up what you're putting down over there. James, he ordered 5 fried eggs. He ordered some buttered toast and coffee. I guess he didn't have any grits up there in Chicago back when this was going on. So after he had his big breakfast, he was led around prison by the bailiff, and he said his goodbyes to all his friends he had made there in the jail. And as he walked to see Sally one last time, he passed by a window and saw the gallows. He kind of caught his eye, he turned his head, and you know what he told the deputy?
What?
I guess that will hold me.
That's pretty good.
So I told you he met with Sadie one last time, and they talked. He gave her a hug, and after that, they escorted him back to his cell. So the sheriff informed him that the governor, because the governor can halt an execution, stay the execution. He informed James that the governor had yet to make a decision, but as of that moment, they were still going to proceed as it was going to take place. He went to his cell and he got dressed. The bailiff there, who was escorting him around the cell, asked him, "Hey, what are you going to wear?" He's like, "Well, I got this dark suit." He said, "Well, are you going to remove the coat before they hang you?" And he goes, "No, I'm afraid I might catch cold." So, yeah, he had a sense of humor on his way out.
Golly, boy. Might catch cold before I die.
Yeah, really. So law enforcement, they are friendly to the Gentleman Burglar, and like a steady stream of procession of these officers came to the jail to tell him goodbye. He met with each one, shook their hand, talked to them. He even asked the sheriffs, like, "Hey, even though I'm not going to be here, will you please look into my case, and if you can find the man who really did this, that killed the officer, please prosecute them for me." He kind of rolled his eyes. He's like, "Okay, James, if something does come up, I will pursue this on your behalf." But, they knew that he had done it. But I told you, to the very end, he denied. So I mentioned his big breakfast. It's also in my notes, he got a big lunch also. So I told you he had 5 eggs for breakfast. He got 6 fried eggs for lunch, as well as some toast, some celery. And as he was wrapping up, one of the jailers brought him a dozen raw oysters. So yeah, he had to have been about as full as a tick up there on the gallows, all the food he's eating.
I don't know how. I wouldn't eat oysters even if I was dying.
It just tickles me, celery. The eggs, the toast, oysters, and celery.
Strange combo.
Is that like all they had there in the kitchen there in Chicago and in the prison? I don't know. So yeah, he had a bunch of eggs for breakfast, had them for dinner or for his lunch. But anyway, after his great big lunch there, he met with a priest, and they prayed in his cell. And finally, the sheriff came in and said, "Look, the governor is not going to make an announcement. He's not going to stay your execution." So at that point, he read the death warrant. If you don't know what a death warrant is, when you are convicted of murder, the judge will read the death warrant to you in jail, and then right before you die, the sheriff, whoever's overseeing the execution, has to read it to you in your cell before you start the procession out to the yard. So at 1:45, the sheriff led James Tracy on a procession out there into the yard, and roughly 500 people had gathered there in the churchyard to witness this grim proceedings. I think it was a group of just officials randomly picked by the police. You couldn't just show up and go in. You had to be invited to come watch this. I mentioned back in earlier episodes, like anytime there's an execution, it was like a carnival. People would come out of the woodwork to watch people being hanged. It was a thing. So as he walked up there on the gallows, he was gripping a cross, and he prayed with the priest. So as he walked to the center, the sheriff asked him, said, "Hey, would you like to say anything?" So in front of these 500 people, James, he got there on the gallows, and he said, "I don't propose to make any statement further than to say I die innocent of the charge. I will be in the presence of my Maker in a few moments, and any man under circumstances like these, if guilty, would acknowledge his guilt. But innocent I am. I have no fear of the hereafter. I die an innocent man. Truth is mighty, and it will prevail. I'm ready." So to the very end, James Tracy, he's going out on a sword, on a shield. He says he didn't do it. So at that moment, he asked for a drink of water, and one of the deputies gave him a glass, took a drink. Once he had the water, his arms and legs were bound by the sheriff. They placed a black cap over his head. The sheriff placed a rope around his neck and moved him over the trap door. So at 2:03, the sheriff cut the rope that dropped the trap, and James Tracy dropped with the rope around his neck. So he fell several feet, and they said that by the news accounts he spun. I guess when the trap dropped, he didn't just go down, he started spinning.
Oh, wow.
And one of the deputies had to go over and grab the rope to hold it so it was taut, and he couldn't, move his feet over and grab the side of the gallows, the scaffold there. They said it took 19 minutes before the attending physician would finally pronounce him dead.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Stubborn.
With a rope around your throat. So, did he die of a broken neck? Was it strangulation? I mean, who knows? 19 minutes is a long time to be hanging.
Right, it is.
So, excuse me. The 3 doctors he met with, after 19 minutes was over, they took the body back to an empty cell there inside the prison. They applied wires to his spinal cord and his chest. So I'm going to read you a statement made by one of the doctors here that was given to the press by the doctors. It says, Tracy was pronounced dead by the county physician about 12 or 15 minutes after the drop fell, but the body was allowed to hang for 5 to 8 minutes longer. I told you it was 19.
Right.
Immediately after the body was taken down, we commenced our experiments with electricity by applying one pole over the spinal cord and the other over the heart, the latter by means of 3 needles, one over the apex and 2 over the base of the heart. The needles being inserted beneath the skin so as to bring the electric current in direct communication with the heart. Upon turning on the current, the effect was very marked. Muscular contractions began wherever the electric current reached, but more especially in the face and neck. The heart began to contract feebly, but regularly. With the ear over the heart, we could distinctly hear, or rather feel, the heart's contractions. By minding the electrode, we could very easily produce a variety of facial expressions. The arms would contract, the legs move with considerable force, and the muscles of the abdomen contracted strongly. The most significant fact, however, was the rhythmic action of the heart. Notwithstanding, the neck was unmistakably broken. It is probable that a considerable portion of the criminals who are executed in this country are either mechanically strangled, that is, choked to death, or killed by shock, that is, death is the result of the terrible impression made upon the nervous system. In other words, the neck is not broken and the spinal cord is not lacerated. In such cases, we are of the opinion that resurrection or resuscitation would not be impossible, that electricity, friction, artificial respirations, the hot bath, and other well-known means of resuscitation might result in the resuscitation of the criminal. If such a case should occur, would it not be the duty of the proper officers to repeat the execution. In the present, resuscitation was impossible, as the neck was broken, and this leads us to add that General Mann and Dr. Buthert performed their unpleasant duty in a manner worthy of all praise. The arrangements were admirable and admirably carried out, and all three doctors signed this and passed it out to the media after all this happened.
Good grief.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. After the experiments were done, his remains were hauled out and turned over to an undertaker, and he was buried at Calvary Cemetery there in Chicago. So, it made headlines all over Chicago. It was a really, really big deal. In 1913, Dr. Harris was interviewed by a local paper. So this is what he said years later about this case and what he had to say about it. So, I witnessed in that experiment one of the most awful spectacles of my life. When I saw that man first begin to take on new signs of life, when we got him, his face was smoke color and his lips were blue from strangulation. Our first act was to heat the body, which, as I remember, was done with warm blankets and hot water bottles. The corpse was then placed upright in a chair, and as Dr. Danforth, who wrote the report of the experiment, says, electrodes were buried in the flesh, and later by artificial respiration, fresh air was pumped into his lungs. We had not persevered long in our experiments until the body began to take on forms of natural life. Color returned to the cheeks and lips. The heart commenced to beat, feebly at first and strongly and regularly, for our subject was a very robust man. The pulse was regular, the blood circulated again. The most ghastly sight of all, however, was when the once dead man opened his eyes. He rolled his eyes about, seemingly at will, and several times he moved his lips as if to speak. He had all the appearances of a living man. Pushing the electrode, which had been buried in the flesh, over Tracy's spine deeper into the body, the experimenters could force the arms and legs to contract with considerable force in response to the stimuli. There is not a question of doubt in my mind, nor could there have been in the minds of any other reliable physician who could have witnessed the trial, that James Tracy, legally dead, was made to live again.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild, but I think we're up for a break here, aren't we, Lee?
We are up for a break.
Let's do it, brother.
So y'all come back. Don't you go nowhere.
WQKR.
Do you have friends looking for a new apartment or a family planning a move to Middle Tennessee? Help them find their new home at Sage North, a new luxury apartment community in White House, and you'll receive a $250 Visa gift card on us. Sage North is an all-new resort-style apartment community just 30 minutes north of Nashville in the charming town of White House, near exit 108 of I-65. Small town charm, but convenient to big city shopping, entertainment, and much more. So, if you know someone looking for that perfect apartment home, encourage them to schedule their tour today and remind them when they go, mention your name when they sign their lease, and that $250 Visa gift card will be headed your way. Everybody wins. They get that beautiful new apartment home, and you get your free Visa gift card. Find out more online by visiting livesagenorth.com or visiting in person at Sage North in beautiful and charming White House, just minutes from exit 108 of I-65 in White House.
Why choose the Farmers Bank? We've been serving our community since 1912, and we still manage our business locally. This means that when you need banking services or a loan, we don't let a computer or someone thousands of miles away make our decisions. We make decisions locally. We visit with you in person. We shake your hand. We get to know you and your family. The Farmers Bank is a community bank built on trust and quality customer care and service. Visit us at any of our 11 area locations or online at thefarmersbank.net to see the Farmers Bank difference. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Now you can join Planet Fitness and get the PF Black Card for zero enrollment, $24.99 a month, and get all the perks.
I love perks.
Do you love having access to 2,000 plus locations?
Yes.
Bringing a friend every time?
Hashtag friend goals.
And recovering with massage chairs?
Who doesn't?
Get the PF Black Card and feel spectacular. Zero enrollment, $24.99 a month. See Club for details.
We have some exciting news to share with the Portland community today regarding their local health care options. I am joined by Eric Johnson, the owner of Firefly Health. Eric, I'm hearing a lot of talk about the new Firefly Health. Can you tell me more?
Sure, Wanda. Firefly Health is a primary care clinic that provides comprehensive health care for the entire family. We're open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. If you are not feeling well or would just like to schedule your routine physical, Firefly Health is there for you. We also serve walk-in patients as well as sport and school physicals.
Can you please tell me the best way for people to contact you?
Sure. Please visit our website at fireflycare.com to schedule your appointment online or give us a call at 615-205-2100. We are located at 421 North Broadway, right next to Napa Auto Parts.
That's 615-205-2100.
WQKR.
Welcome back to Southern Ghost Stories.
Yeah, thank you to the WQKR girls. They came out here and sang that little jingle, and they went back here in that room, and I think they're scrolling on their phones until next time they come out.
Yeah, that one needs to fix her hair, though. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're here 24/7 on call. I mean, they do this, how many times a day?
Many times a day, but they need
do a
to
great job.
touch up that makeup and fix that hair, but they sound great.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm a fan. So where were we? So, talking about the doctor and how he saw the cadaver's lips move and his eyes open, and he felt his heartbeat once they applied electricity. So that would probably freak me out too. And I told you the interview was like 14 years after the experiment happens. They really stuck with that doctor, and he thought about that for quite some time. So after that happened, it came out in the papers, the state attorneys, there were some officials were talking. So had James Tracy been revived, would he be allowed to go free? I mean, he would have had a broken neck. I mean, I'm not sure how you live with a broken neck, but if these lawmakers really, the politicians, they had these discussions, if these doctors brought him back, would we have to retry him? Would we have to rehang him? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, what do you think they should have done, Lee, had they brought him back? Because the law was you'd be hanged by the neck till dead. If you're dead, but they bring you back, you go free, right?
I don't know how to feel about that if he actually killed who they said he killed.
He said he was innocent.
But he couldn't prove it without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's a weird loophole. It was also a thing in the Knox Martin book that I did. There was all this hubbub of, what would they do if they brought him back? Do you rehang him? Do you let him go free?
I would think by law he would have to go free.
Yeah, well, according to the state attorney, that was what they would do. They would have to let him go.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He said that he was hanged by the neck until dead, so he would technically be free to go if he was brought back.
But he wouldn't be normal the rest of his life.
No, he'd have a broken neck. I mean, I guess you maybe put a bracelet. I'm not sure. I mean, there's been advancements in modern medicine since the late 1800s.
That's a tough call.
Yeah, but it's fascinating to think about.
Yes, it is.
It's like an unprecedented thing, but I mean, it's science fiction. They wouldn't bring him back.
I would want to just die if it was me.
Yeah, and the thing is, the eyelids moving and opening, the mouth moving, all that is, that's the electricity flowing through the body and stimulating the muscles. They didn't bring him back. I mean, medicine was primitive then. These guys were surely educated, but I'm pretty sure with my knowledge now I can say better than these doctors from the 1890s that know that they did not bring him back. It was just the electricity making the muscles contract and giving the illusion. So 6 months later, after James Tracy was executed there in the Cook County Prison, there's a mystic or a medium named Dr. Shea who came to Chicago. So we're familiar with these mediums or mystics. Spiritualism was this big, gigantic movement, I guess, really after the Civil War. So during the Civil War, you had thousands, if not millions, of men dying all over America. And it's like, all these times these guys from the North just go to the South and just never come back. So it's just this grief. There's no closure. So these mediums would just travel the country. Oh, I can produce spirits, for a small fee. I've got a book about it. We'll probably go over this one day. My book about Jules Wallace, this medium who went to St. Louis. His first day in town, he goes to the newspaper office. Oh, I want to place an ad in your paper. Well, what are you selling, sir? I produce spirits in my boarding house, 50 cents to a 10. What? He pays the money. They run the ad, and the next night, in his boarding house in the dark, he's producing these glowing beings that are speaking to his guest. So the spiritualism thing was big, and it was big bucks. It was big money.
Right.
So as all this is playing out in the papers, and I guess 6 months have gone by, I guess the Gentleman Burglar is kind of fading away. But this guy named Dr. Shea, which likely wasn't his real name, he came to Chicago, and he did a performance or a demonstration, that's what they called them, demonstrations, at Shrum's Hall. So that night at Shrum's Hall, if you wanted to see this world-famous medium named Dr. Shea, you had to pay 10 cents at the door, which I'm not sure if my inflation calculator, how much that would be. I'm sure it's probably $5 or so, maybe in today's money, to see him produce spirits or whatever he's going to do. But that night, over 100 people in Chicago came out to Shrum's Hall to see what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So while he was there at Shrum's Hall, Dr. Shea, he gave up there and introduced himself. He came out with a long flowing robe, and he told the guests that, hey, the spirits are active. You know, I can see the spirits here. So he looks over to the side of the stage. He goes, oh, I see a very well-dressed man with a mustache. He has bright red hair. Oh, he's telling me he died recently. Oh, hang on, what's this? He's trying to tell me something else. Please, everyone be quiet. He's saying, oh, please repeat it to me. Tell me what it is. So he's, okay, well, look, here's what we got to do. I want everybody to start singing hymns. He said, I want everybody to start singing hymns, and by singing these hymns, you'll make the conditions more favorable to those on the other side. They'll want to cross over if they hear songs that they sang as, children or they're familiar with. So the folks there in attendance, they started singing hymns for Dr. Shea. So according to news accounts, they sang for roughly 30 minutes, these old Bible hymns, and Dr. Shea got there on the stage and proclaimed, oh, this is a very special day. There are spirits, and they're present, and they want to heal the sick in attendance. So I've noticed you kind of under the weather, Lee. Would you want the spirits to heal you?
If it was able.
All right. So Dr. Shea requested those who are suffering from imbecility or insanity to come to the stage. Do you know what imbecility is?
Well, I know what an imbecile is, so yeah, I do.
I just saw that in the old paper, and I just laughed. It's like he's calling them a bunch of dummies. Hey, if you're a dummy, come on up here.
If you're an imbecile.
No, but if you suffer from imbecility or insanity, you were invited to come up to the stage.
You big dummy.
You big dummy, and Dr. Shea the spirits would treat you through Dr. Shea. So in addition to those who were imbeciles or insane, he also invited any medium in attendance that had been feeling less powerful. So like if your battery is low, if you're a medium, you need to be recharged, please come to the front with the imbeciles and the insane to be, I guess, re-energized. So Dr. Shea and I think he had 3 assistants that night. They walked to a bench there out front where the imbeciles, the insane, and the low-charged mediums were hanging out. And they sat there and laid hands on them, and they told them they were pulling away negative energy. Right. Things they're holding you down, they're pulling it away from you, and you're going to feel better once you leave. Well, an undercover reporter for the Chicago Tribune was there that night. He wanted to see, what's really going on. So that night, he pretended he was suffering from imbecility. He went down to that bench, and he said that one of the assistants poured a jar of vinegar over his head and started combing his hair with the vinegar in his hair. So I'm not sure what vinegar does for imbecility. Yeah, but that's a cure. I don't really know. But he was ushered back to his seat, and he was told that he would be healed. So at that point, Dr. Shea, he begins to tell his guests, hey, that man with the red hair, I see him. It's a well-dressed man. He's here on stage, and he's trying to tell me something. He was hanged in the city several months ago as a murderer. But what's this? He's telling me the law got a hold of the wrong person. He's telling me I had to suffer for the guilty one. Hanging is a painless death. A sensibility ceases at once. It was about 9 days before I awoke to consciousness existence in the spirit world. And that's what I guess the Gentleman Burglar is telling Dr. Shea that night there to his assembled guest.
Wait a minute. This guy came back as a spirit?
He was speaking through Dr. Shea.
I see.
So, yeah, Dr. Shea is claiming that this man with red hair who's dressed nicely is telling him about being executed there on stage.
Gotcha.
Dr. Shea is telling his story to those in attendance.
Now I'm back.
Okay. So, chances are what really happened was Dr. Shea had been reading newspapers and learned about this guy being hanged, and he just started telling the story about what happened to him. And, of course, people in Chicago are like, oh, my goodness, how does he know?
Right.
Oh, well, this guy was just hanged a few months ago. He's here. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, supposedly that it took 9 days before the Gentleman Burglar awoke to consciousness existence there in the spirit world. So, but Dr. Shea, I think that was his last performance in town. These guys, they were there for a little while. They would leave. I know in the case of Jules Wallace, when he was in St. Louis, he did it longer than most. Eventually, they'd figure you out. There's, usually you have like seconds who would go to the bars and talk to people and find out people's stories, but they would chase you out of town. And then what happened was Dr. Shea, once they run him out of Chicago, he would go to St. Louis or he would go to Cincinnati. He would go to the next town and start doing the same thing with a different name. There's a guy, Dr. Henry Slater, who was he was very well known, and what happened was people would come in and say, "Oh, I'm Dr. Henry Slater," because they wouldn't, you'd have like a picture of a sketch in the newspaper, but they would just take no one really knew what he looked like, so this guy would come in, "Oh, I'm Dr. Slater," and he'd go in the next town but it really wasn't Dr. Slater. It was just another guy who took on that name, that persona, and started doing these parlor tricks and doing all the shenanigans there to trick people into getting their money.
Gotcha.
So yeah. But yeah, I love this medium stuff. There's another guy in St. Louis. I can't remember his name, but what he would do was they would have trumpets, and they'd pick up these trumpets in the dark, and they'd blow them, and they'd move them around, and of course they're doing all this stuff in the dark where you can't see it, and they'd use phosphorus, they had these chemicals, and they would have these glowing lights. And it was all parlor tricks and shenanigans, but people paid a lot of money. Like I think I read Jules Wallace when he left. He left St. Louis with thousands and thousands of dollars. So yeah, it's a whole lot of fun.
Who is that female medium that's got the big hair, and she reads for like major actors, and I'm surprised you don't know who I
know.
Is
I mean,
right away.
I do know some mediums. I did a convention back earlier this year and hung out with a couple of them, and they're spot on. Like, there are people who are tuned in to different things. It's like I'm tuned in to 2, 4, and 5. I get ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. But there are people who have ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, plus the ESPN and the DirecTV sports package. They get it all. They just sense things. They're just in tune with things that I'm not. I have a friend of mine. She, how I met her, I was told this one building was haunted. I was working on a book. And I walked in and said, "Hey, I'm working on this book. I've been hearing their ghost stories here." And she kind of put her head in her hands and kind of was trying to avoid me. So I thought, okay, I'm just bothering him. I'll walk away. I walked over, talked to her coworker. Her coworker's like, "Oh, yeah, we're haunted, but you have to go talk to her." So I walked back, "Man, I'm sorry to bother you, but they're telling me that there's a ghost story here you know about it." She said, "Oh, yeah." She shot up. She's like she knew I was coming. She started talking about it like there is somebody here, but she's not haunting us. She wants to be here. Like, she was aware of her, and she and I became friends. Like, I found a picture of she described a lady with like an old bouffant style hairdo, and I found this picture because that building was the old library. I found a picture of the first librarian for the county, and I seen her that picture. It's like, oh, well, that's a lady who I see here in the building. So yeah, I would take her on these adventures with me, and there was one building we were on the Gallatin Square, and we walk up to the second floor. She takes off running with her hand out like a child or somebody is leading her, like sprinting across the floor. So I kind of follow behind. We get to this window. I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, this little girl. She's trying to show me something." And I said, "Well, have her show me." Because I want to debunk everything I can. Because if everything is haunted, nothing is haunted. So I want to debunk anything I can possibly debunk.
Well, that's what it's about. That's what this stuff is all about. It's debunking.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and I'm scratching my hand. I was like, "Yeah, have her show me." And she's like, "Well, Alan, she's holding your hand." And I looked down, and I told you I'm scratching my wrist. So it's like,
Wow.
It's like Casper the Ghost. You've seen the movies, like, oh yeah, what does it feel like, being dead? It's like, oh well, it's like your hand falls asleep. So I don't know, man. I was scratching my wrist, and they said that ghost was touching me.
Wow.
I don't know.
Well, the lady I was talking about is Teresa Caputo.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah, the lady I met, her name is Patty. She's out of California, real sweet. And then April, I think she's like the Long Island medium. Both are very well respected. Both have done a lot of TV, a lot of media appearances, and I don't doubt what they can and can't do because I saw them do things. And I've seen them, the way folks react around them.
She came to Nashville, and I really wanted to go. I just couldn't.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like I have a friend of mine who has a girlfriend who is who's very much into that. She can sense and feel things. And like I always feel like when I'm around her, it's like she's like reading me or something, So like I try to be like real guarded around her because it's like I don't really know her as well as I do my buddy. So it's like I don't, it's kind of weird. But I'm close to him; he's my pal. But her, it's like I don't know.
That would make me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but we're almost up to a break here, aren't we, Lee?
Yeah, we might as well go.
All right, let's do it.
I will be right back. Don't you go nowhere.
The new 109 Market at 5989 Highway 31W in Portland is now open and under new management, with much, much more than just convenience. They feature delicious plate lunches Monday through Friday with meat, 2 sides, and rolls for just $6.99, plus Perella's Pizza by the slice for just $2.99 or a whole pizza for $10.99 for the meat lovers or pepperoni pizzas. Start the day with breakfast at 109. Choose from sausage, bacon, tenderloin, or steak biscuits, just $2.99. Delicious Chappie's chicken, beer, soft drinks, and more. Fill up your car with gas and kerosene and both regular and off-road diesel fuel available too. All while you treat yourself to delicious food and snacks at the new 109 Market. Buy lottery tickets also. Great food, fuel, and more. Plus, when you purchase a membership gas card, a portion of every purchase goes to support Portland High School Panthers sports. Convenience and more. Great food all day, every day at the new 109 Market, 5989 Highway 31W north of downtown Portland.
Now you can join Planet Fitness and get the PF Black Card for zero enrollment, $24.99 a month, and get all the perks.
I love perks.
Do you love having access to 2,000 plus locations?
Yes.
Bringing a friend every time?
Hashtag friend goals.
And recovering with massage chairs?
Who doesn't? Get
the PF Black Card and feel spectacular. Zero enrollment, $24.99 a month. See Club for details.
I have a question for you. Do you like great music? Music from singer-songwriters? Maybe bluegrass, folk, blues, classic country, rockabilly, or even early rock and roll? Then I invite you to a special show called Americana Country. I'm your host, Jay Preston. It's Sunday afternoon, 1 till 4 p.m. We play a whole mess of great music, Americana and roots music, right here on WQKR. Join me, Jay Preston, Sunday afternoons for Americana Country, 1 till 4 p.m. right here on WQKR.
WQKR.
Volunteer State Bank is now Volunteer Bank. We're proud to introduce a new look for a name you've trusted for 48 years. This change reflects our deep roots in Middle Tennessee and our commitment to the place that we call home. It's how we're evolving to better serve you while staying true to the values that built us. Whatever your next step may be, we volunteer to help you take it. Volunteer Bank, the home state advantage. Learn more at volunteer.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to the last segment of Southern Ghost Stories. Here's your host, Alan Searcy.
All right. Thank you, Lonesome Lee.
Of course.
So, if you know me, I'm always researching stuff. So, I've been posting a lot of ghost stories on Twitter lately. And if you're not following me on Twitter, it's at ATO, ALLEN, at ATO Allen. The ATO, that's a long story. It's back in my MMA fighting days. But yeah, ATO Allen. I've been posting ghost stories, getting ready for Halloween, and I found some stuff I figured I'd just talk about on the radio show because it's really wild and fun. Headless Horseman stuff, I think or Headless Ghost, that's my jam. So I found this old newspaper article talking about there was a headless ghost that was haunting a factory in Indiana. So it was in Michigan City in the 1930s. There was this rumor that there was an African-American worker, and something had happened where I guess he got in a fight with another worker, and what happened was he wound up, someone beat him to death, and he threw him in a furnace. So people are kind of talking, whispering about the guy thrown in the furnace, and naturally, if you work in a work site like that, that's going to kind of unnerve and freak you out. But the tale kind of, it grew and morphed and took on a life of its own. And people who worked there in the factory, they would start to, they felt like people was watching them. They would hear things at night. I mean, you got all these stories about somebody being killed in the factory and thrown in an incinerator. I guess that'd probably, play with your nerves too. But the Pullman plant's ghost, by 1930, they couldn't keep watchmen. One night, there was a watchman named John Lodwick, according to the newspaper article. He was out there in the yard, in the rail yard behind the factory, and he heard this noise, and it was like rapping or knocking on this boxcar there behind the factory. So unnerved, freaking out, this watchman, Mr. Lodwick, he grabbed a brick and he threw it as hard as he could at the train. So as he's throwing this brick at this invisible ghost or whatever's there rapping on the train car, his overcoat gets thrown over him and wrapped around him, and he starts freaking out. He's going nuts. He doesn't know what's going on. He falls to the ground, shaking, kicking, screaming. Coworkers rush out and see the guy on the ground trying to fight off invisible ghost. Well, it wasn't just him. The next 4 watchmen after Mr. Lodwick, they had experiences with the ghost too, and they end up quitting the factory as well. So it's just wild, this legend of the guy getting killed, and I guess there's just a headless wraith out there in the yard just messing with the guys watching over the factory, freaking them out. But yeah, I've been posting things like that all over Twitter. Another one I found that just kind of tickled me. There's also another headless ghost. I told you I love headless ghosts. If I'm researching books, I'm always in newspaper.com. I'll research headless ghosts, headless spirits. It's a lot of fun. So back in 1880 or 1870s, Long Island, it wasn't just New York City. They had little villages that made up Manhattan. And one of the villages there, Bayville, right there close to the ocean there, there was a peddler who would travel back and forth to Center Island. And, a peddler, he would go around selling his wares, whatever he could find, whatever he could dig up. He would go from village to village and try to sell, make as much money as he could. Well, evidently he had a pretty good score, and he had a whole bunch of money on him. Well, one night, I guess there was a gang of criminals that just kind of followed him out there in the woods, and he was never seen again. So it was kind of whispered, something going on, been some shenanigans, and it's likely that, this peddler, someone grabbed him, took his loot.
Some tomfoolery.
Yeah, and he just disappeared.
Some tomfoolery. My microphone wasn't on.
Yeah, keep the microphones on. So soon stories began to circulate about this peddler. They said that, whoever got him, they cut his head off, and they took his loot, took his money. But he came back to roam that lonely stretch of road that, to Center Island where he was robbed. So when they encountered him, they said it was a tall, staggering form lurching through the night with no head upon his shoulders. That's pretty creepy.
Yes.
What would you do if you stopped walking one day and you saw a guy with no head just kind of come out of the woods right in front of you?
I wouldn't be thinking, I'd be running, and I would probably have to change pants.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in that order, I would suppose.
Yes.
So, but the headless guy there in Bayville said his movements were slow and searching, as though he wandered eternally in pursuit of something stolen from him. That would be his head, I guess. But I guess it'd be his loot. His loot, then his head. What would you look for first? I guess you'd need your head before you go find your loot.
I would need my head first.
Yeah, you don't lose your head. But the chilling apparition became known as the Headless Peddler of Bayville, a restless spirit bound to the place of his untold death. So I just love old ghost stories like that, man. That's kind of my jam. I found another one here, and this one here was in Minnesota. So in 1897, there was a guy named John C. Lemke. He was walking down Minneapolis Humboldt Avenue there in town, and his friend John Moshik walked up beside him. You're walking down the road late at night, and your friend walks up to you. Okay, hey man, what's up? Well, John had ulterior motives. He was broke, needed some money, wound up hitting his buddy, knocking him to the ground, and shot him twice in the back.
Nice guy.
Yeah, killed his pal there in cold-blooded.
Jeez.
Yeah, the murder shocked the city, and just there's so much evidence there that when it went to trial that, yeah, he was pretty much doomed. So on March 18, 1898, Moshik, he was sentenced to the gallows there for committing murder. And when he asked for final words, he said, nothing. No remorse. So he stood there for a moment. The sheriff kind of looked at him. He said, tighten the rope.
Oh.
He was ready to go, I guess.
Goodness.
Yeah, he wasn't going to waste any time. So they dropped the trap door, and, yeah, it was Hennepin's last hanging, the jail there, the prison. But strangely, after that happened, for the next 4 decades, the prison there, the prisoners would hear around 4 a.m. every single morning, they'd hear footsteps, groans, which were followed by a creaky rope from the gallows room where the execution took place. So some of the prisoners, they said they felt like an icy presence was watching them just 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So was it John Moshik's ghost? I don't really know, but it's just one of those things that it's kind of a folklore. So, but they, the jail was eventually torn down. I'm not even sure what's there anymore, but yeah, they heard a man choking, and yeah, that's not a good place to be.
No, sir, I wouldn't want to be there very long at all.
And I've heard stories like that. I know that I think it was Chicago. There was a jail where they executed a bunch of people, and then once they tore the jail down, they made it at the fire hall. And I went there talking to the guy at the fire hall, and he was like, "Yeah, we hear things. If you have like a dozen executions in one spot, there's going to be some kind of energy there. And even though they change buildings, tear down the jail or prison, they make it into something else. Something, whatever's there stays on the property. It seems like."
Right.
So yeah, but all those old jails have stories. But we got a lot of stuff coming up, and I want to remind you guys. Check out the Southern Ghost Stories Facebook page. Follow us on Facebook. Southern Ghost Stories on Instagram. Send us messages, questions, stuff you want us to talk about. We're always open for suggestions. And I want to get some feedback. I've been invited to go on a local media outlet in Nashville in October, and they asked me to talk about 3 of the most haunted places in Middle Tennessee. And that's kind of like a wide range of things to choose from. I mean, I got to pick 3 places. I've written over, I think, 12, 13 books just on Tennessee alone. I have 4 books just on Nashville, but I've got Murfreesboro, Gallatin, Hendersonville, Franklin, Brentwood. I got a lot of stuff to choose from. And to pick 3, so I want to hear from you guys, what are 3 places that you'd like to hear me talk about? I've kind of got some ideas, but hey, let me know what you think. And don't say the Bell Witch, because I know everybody's going to say the Bell Witch.
Probably.
But yeah, I'm thinking maybe Trousdale Place in Gallatin, perhaps the Lotes House in Franklin, maybe even the Knox Martin story, because it's such a wild, weird thing, because where they tried to revive him is actually, it's an old Civil War hospital, and there are some ghost stories. But yeah, I'm always open to suggestions. I mean, what would you want to hear me talk about, Lee?
I'm interested in hearing about the Gallatin stuff.
Gallatin stuff? Well, I don't know, man. I could do the Capitol, State Capitol. We already talked about that. I don't know. There's so many places I could talk about. But talk about Gallatin stuff. I kind of teased it earlier in the show. Lee and I are going to do a live show at the Palace Theater on October 29th in Gallatin, there on the square. Mm-hmm. So tickets are $5. It's $5 at the door. And all the money raised that night will go back to the Palace Theater.
Awesome.
It's a historic site built in 1913, I believe it is. And, there's a lot of money needed to keep that place going. So it's over 100 years old. And so all the funds that night we'll raise will go back to the Palace Theater and hopefully, help them keep things humming. And I plan on having some special guests. I'm not sure if I'm going to announce those this week. I'll probably announce them next week. But I've arranged for a pretty, I don't say big name, but a very well-respected name who's going to be on hand that night with us in the Palace. So we'll be talking ghost stories. And if you know the story of the Palace is haunted. All kinds of weird things there. I've seen things myself. I've heard stories from dozens of people. One of my favorite things about the Palace is when you walk in there, if you look over on the wall, there's a sign for a saloon that used to be next door. that's painted onto the walls.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's really, really cool. But as we wind down here, I'll remind you guys, ghostofgallatin.com. I'm doing tours in Gallatin, talking about Gallatin. But I do a 90-minute walking tour in Gallatin. I start the first tour is September 20th. I believe that's Saturday. Let me check my calendar. September 20th is Saturday, September 20th. I think we're doing tours that night. And they'll run all through October, all actually through November 1st. So a lot of spooky fun, a lot of true crime, ghost stories. Maybe even throw some grave robbing. Who knows? But yeah, it's going to be a good time. The live show, and also the new books. You know, the Sausage King. I want to go into that, but I want to go really in depth. Maybe next week I may go do that. But the Sausage King is based on a murder mystery out of Chicago. It's around the same time as H.H. Holmes, when 1893 World's Fair came to Chicago. But it's a sausage magnate whose wife went missing, and they find her wedding ring in a vat of acid. It's one of my most favorite books I've done. Of course, I'm partial. I love them all, but each are special, each are fun. But the Sausage King is really wild.
I love my own books.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
I love your books too.
And I hate doing I'll do shows, I do conventions. I'll be in Cincinnati this next week, and someone comes up, "Oh, what's your favorite book?" I'm like, I love them all.
All of them.
But I am partial to a few of them. But the Sausage King is probably in the top 5. But the Resurrection of Knox Martin, I mentioned that last week. It came out last week. But the Knox Martin book, Resurrection of Knox Martin, talks about the Frankenstein story in South Nashville and how it's just a weird, wild story. It's got voodoo. It's got Frankenstein. It's just got all kinds of just weird, wild stuff. And things that are coming up, I'll be in Cincinnati this weekend, September 12th. Then October, I'll be at the Gallatin Square Fest October 4th. The second weekend, I'll be in Louisville for the Goatman Festival. I'm debuting a new book, Below the Trestle, in Louisville that weekend, talking about the Louisville Goatman, if you know the lore of Louisville. The following weekend, I'll be at Lexington and Scarefest. If you've been to Scarefest, it's one of the premier horror/Halloween festivals all over the country, especially in the Southeast. But I'll be there, and then the last weekend in October, the 25th or whatever it is, I'll be in Franklin, Tennessee for Pumpkin Fest. So I'm going to be here, there, and everywhere. And come find me. Come grab a book. I'll be happy to sign it. Talk about some ghost stories, grave robbing, reviving electricity, voodoo, marrying hookers, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Galvanism.
Either way, a story about marrying a revived hooker.
Yeah. Alan, before we go, let's get the record straight about when your show plays here on WQKR.
I believe it's Wednesday night at 6, and then it re-airs on the weekends.
So the promo says Thursday, which was a misunderstanding with management from the beginning.
Those were recorded several weeks before I started the first show, and I think there's some programming issues.
So it's not Thursday; it's Wednesday.
It's on Wednesday, yes.
At 6 o'clock.
And you can download the show. It's Southern Ghost Stories on iTunes. It'll come up, I think, on Mondays. So
sounds great.
Yeah, but it's been a fun show. I guess we'll see you guys again next week.
See you next
week.
week.
Go check out Lee's new song.
I'm gonna marry a hooker, Abigail Hooker. Love her. See you next time. You've been listening to Southern Ghost Stories with Alan Searcy.